Aloha! Namaste. My name is Janapati Das, and we are continuing with our Krishna book reading. This will be Krishna book reading number 9. If you're joining me for the first time, welcome. And feel free to go back and read and watch all my YouTube videos, starting from Krishna book reading 1, which is the introduction for this Krishna book by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is the spiritual master of my spiritual teacher. And we're going to start with some Kirtan, which is a meditation form of hearing Shravanam Kirtanam, listening and repeating. In other words, you're going to listen to the mantras, take them into your heart, and the second time through, you can repeat with me. And we'll just do this sort of call and response back and forth. Let me offer my respects to all of you and to my spiritual teacher. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Sira Swarupananda Paramam Saiti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Swarupananda Paramahamsa Iti Namine Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasade Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasade Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Haribo Nitai Gaur Nitai Gaur Haribo 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Haribo. Okay, so we're gonna have a quick little reading today, and feel free if you have any questions on any of the videos or any of the philosophy we've been talking about. Feel free to comment on my videos in the comments section. Subscribe, like, and share. Share these wonderful stories. They are chock full of wonderful wisdom and just wonderful to hear of. We naturally have a tendency to want to hear things, but we spend our time in this material world reading fictional novels or just reading newspapers or reading the internet articles or watching movies or whatever it might be to get that desire. But hearing the pastimes, what we call Krishna Katha, the pastimes of Krishna, are actually satisfying to ourself. The Jivatma, the living entity within the body, is actually cherishing and relishing hearing the pastimes of Krishna. And when we try to find that satisfaction by watching Netflix shows or reading newspapers or going on the internet, reading novels or whatever we might be doing, we're never satisfied with that. Actually, we end up being frustrated and angry with not being satisfied from them. So we were reading, let me see where I was with that. Okay. I'm trying to think of actually here. I'm going to start right, kind of maybe overlapping where we left off last time. I'm not exactly sure what so we were talking about impersonalism. The demigods were praying to Krishna, who was about to appear in the world. So they are there present with Devaki and Vasudeva in the prison, and they are praying to Krishna. And they were talking about impersonalism versus personalism, or what we call Mayavadi philosophy. The impersonalism do not accept the personality of God. They tend to think of God as an impersonal energy that actually is really that every living person can come to realize that they are. So actually the philosophy doesn't make much sense at all, but it's there and it's prevalent. So when we talk about impersonalism, that's what we're referring. The impersonalists simply think that they, sorry, my Kindle shut down here. There we go. The impersonalists simply think that they are liberated, but actually they have no feeling for the personality of Godhead. So their goal is to actually meditate, and sometimes they'll have forms of Krishna or Shiva or other demigods, but they don't accept the personalities, these personalities. They think they're just gateways to merge into one existence, monism. And they think that they've become liberated. And oftentimes when they come into that state, and it's a real state, you can have what they call Brahma Jyoti realization, which is understanding the impersonal aspect of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is all the living entities, all the material energy in this great ocean of white light called the Brahma Jyoti. And so this is a realization, and people can do certain yogic techniques to attain this, and they merge, but they eventually have to come back down, because being a living entity, they have that desire for a relationship with Krishna, but they come down, they think that they are Krishna, they think that they are God, because they've obtained this sort of realization of the Brahma Jyoti. But actually they have no feeling for the personality of Godhead. They think that when Krishna comes into the material world, he accepts a material body. They therefore overlook the transcendental body of Krishna. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, avajananti mam mujyaha. In spite of conquering material lust and rising up to the point of liberation, the impersonalists fall down. If they are engaged in knowing things for the sake of knowledge and do not take to the devotional service of the Lord, they cannot achieve the desired results. So all knowledge ultimately should be utilized in the understanding of Krishna and our relationship with Krishna. Anything else just for its own sake is really just a waste of time. Their achievement is a trouble they take, and that is all. It is clearly stated in the Bhagavad Gita that to realize Brahman identification is not all. So it is the lowest form of God realization. It's not the complete. Brahman identification may help one become joyful without material attachment or detachment and to achieve the platform of equanimity. But after this stage, one has to take to devotional service. When one takes to devotional service after being elevated to the platform of Brahman realization, he is then admitted into the spiritual kingdom for permanent residence in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the result of devotional service. Those who are devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead never fall down like the impersonalists. Even if the devotees fall down, they remain affectionately attached to their lordship. They can meet all kinds of obstacles on the path of devotional service, and freely, without any fear, they can surmount such obstacles. Because of their surrender, they are certain that Krishna will always protect them. As it is promised by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, my devotees are never vanquished. Demigods are continuing here. Our dear Lord, you have appeared in your original, unalloyed form, the eternal form of goodness for the welfare of all living entities within this material world. Taking advantage of your appearance, all of them can now very easily understand the nature and form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Persons who belong to the 4 divisions of the social order, the brahmacharis, the gridhastas, the vanaprasthas, and the sannyasis, can all take advantage of your appearance. So that is a ashram, what they call the varna ashram, the Vedic system. In the ashram system, there are 4 divisions: brahmacharis, which are student life, celibate student life, who spend their time learning like students do, but they learn about how to serve their spiritual teacher, they learn about Krishna, they engage in service to the spiritual teacher. The gridhastas, which is the married life, the vanaprastha, which is a retired life, and sannyasi, which is actually the final order of like mendicant life. Dear Lord, husband of the goddess of fortune, devotees who are dovetailed in your service do not fall down from their high position like the impersonalists. Being protected by you, the devotees are able to transverse over the heads of many of Maya's commanders-in-chief, who can always put stumbling blocks on the path of liberation. My dear Lord, you appear in your transcendental form for the benefit of the living entity so that they can see you face to face and offer their worshipful sacrifices by ritualistic performance of the Vedas, mystic meditation, and devotional service as recommended in the scriptures. Dear Lord, if you did not appear in your eternal transcendental form, full of bliss and knowledge, which can eradicate all kinds of speculative ignorance about your position, then all people would simply speculate about you according to the respective modes of material nature. The appearance of Krishna is the answer to all imaginative iconography of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone imagines the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to his mode of material nature. So you can actually, this is an important point, so if you look over the existence of humanity, you can see that different cultures have kind of visualized God in a certain way, depending on what kind of mode, if they're in the mode of ignorance, mode of passion, or mode of goodness. They visualize or they have images of what God looks like. Therefore, a section of religionists in the Brahma Samhita, it is said that the Lord is the oldest person. Therefore, a section of religionists imagine that God must be very old. Therefore, they depict the form of the Lord like a very old man. So it's like Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, the fall of Adam, or the rise of, I can't remember what it's called, but actually it's one where God and Adam are touching, God's in heaven and Adam's reaching up. But Michelangelo thought, oh, well, God is the oldest, so he made him a very old man with a beard and white hair, and then he must be the very strongest, so he's like totally ripped, like he's been doing a workout section. But this is all speculation. It's not like based on any kind of real spiritual knowledge of how God would look. It's just like, I think this, therefore it's that. But in the same Brahma Samhita that is contradicted, although he is the oldest of all living entities, he has his eternal form as a fresh youth. The exact words used in this connection in the Srimad Bhagavatam are Vigananam, Agananabid, Aparajanam. Vigananam means transcendental knowledge of the Supreme Personality. Vigananam is also experienced knowledge. Transcendental knowledge has to be accepted by the descending process of disciplic succession as Brahma presents the knowledge of Krishna in the Brahma Samhita. Brahma Samhita is Vigananam, as realized by Brahma's transcendental experience, and in that way he presented the form of the pastime of Krishna in the transcendental mode. So the real receiving, there's actually two ways of receiving transcendental knowledge. One is the ascending process and one is the descending process. As you can see in the story earlier, Lord Brahma went to meditate and receive descending from the knowledge about, whether it was creation of the universe or what was going to happen concerning what was going on the planet. He received it. And the other form of ascending is attempting to understand the absolute truth by utilizing your own powers and your own capabilities of understanding something. So that is a form of knowledge, obtaining knowledge, very common in today's world, where we try to utilize our own speculative strength to understand things. But this is actually as we could probably see in many cases, a faulty way of receiving information, because we are not perfect and we make mistakes, and therefore our ability to understand and comprehend things based on our own mind is faulty. Agananabid means that which can match all kinds of speculation. In ignorance, people are imagining the form of the Lord. Sometimes he has no form, and sometimes he has form, according to their different imaginations. But the presentation of Krishna in the Brahma Samhita is Vigananam, scientific, experienced knowledge given by Lord Brahma and accepted by Lord Chaitanya. There is no doubt about it. Sri Krishna's form, Sri Krishna's flute, Krishna's color, everything is reality. Here it is said that this Viganam is always defeating all kinds of speculative knowledge. Therefore, without your appearing as Krishna as you are, neither a Gananabid, nescience of speculative knowledge, nor Vigananam would be realized. A Gananabid, aparam janam, by your appearance, the speculative knowledge of ignorance will be vanquished, and the real experienced knowledge of authorities like Lord Brahma will be established. Men, influenced by the three modes of material nature, imagine their own God according to the modes of material nature. In this way, God is presented in various ways, but your appearance will establish what the real form of God is. The highest blunder committed by the impersonalist is to think that when the incarnation of God comes, he accepts the form of matter in the modes of goodness. Actually, the form of Krishna, our Narayan, is transcendental to any material idea. Even the greatest impersonalist, Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya was the spiritual master who started the Mayavadi school in the Vedic thought in India. And that his appearance was actually ordained by Krishna, but that's sort of a long subject matter, but we'll get into it. But basically, he inaugurated the form of impersonal thought in India for a specific reason, but nevertheless, there it is. Has admitted that Narayan Para Vyaktat, the material creation caused by the Vyakta impersonal manifestation of matter, are the non-phenomenal total reservation of matter, and Krishna is transcendental to that material conception. That is expressed in the Srimad Bhagavatam as Shuddha Sattva, or transcendental. He does not belong to the material mode of goodness, and he is above the position of material goodness. He belongs to the transcendental eternal status of bliss and knowledge. Dear Lord, when you appear in your different incarnations, you take different names and forms according to different situations. Lord Krishna is your name because you are all attractive. You are called Shama Sundar because of your transcendental beauty. Shama means blackish, and yet they say that you are more beautiful than thousands of cupids. Kandarpa Koiti Kamaniya. Although you appear in a color which is compared to the blackish cloud, because you are transcendental absolute, your beauty is many, many times more attractive than the delicate body of Cupid. Sometimes you are called Giridhari because you lifted the hill known as Govardhan. You are sometimes called Nanda Nandana or Vasudev or Devaki Nandana because you appear as the son of Maharaj Nanda or Devaki or Vasudev. Impersonalists think that your many names or forms are according to a particular type of work and quality because they accept you from the position of a material observer. Our dear Lord, the way of understanding is not to study your absolute nature, form, and activities by mental speculation. One must engage himself in devotional service, then one can understand your absolute nature, transcendental form, name, and quality. Actually, only a person who has a little taste for the service of your lotus feet can understand your transcendental nature or form and quality. Others may go on speculating for millions of years, but it is not possible for them to understand even a single part of your actual position. In other words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, cannot be understood by the non-devotees because there is a curtain of Yoga Maya which covers Krishna's actual features. So the ability to speculate or ascend into the understanding of Krishna is impossible because Krishna's energy of Yoga Maya, which we've discussed as being his internal potency, covers the living entities until they actually want to engage by their choice in the service, in the loving service of Krishna. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya, the Lord says, I am not exposed to anyone and everyone. When Krishna came, he was actually present on the battlefield of Kurukshetra and everyone saw him. But not everyone could understand that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Still, everyone who died in his presence attained complete liberation from material bondage and was transferred to the spiritual world. O Lord, the impersonalists or non-devotees cannot understand that your name is identical with your form. Since the Lord is absolute, there is no difference between his name and his actual form. In the material world, there is a difference between form and name. The mango fruit is different from the name of the mango. One cannot taste the mango fruit by simply chanting mango, mango, mango. But the devotee who knows that there is no difference between the name and the form of the Lord chants Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and realizes that he is always in Krishna's company. This is a long chapter, but we're going to continue on and mainly express the point of doing our Sankirtan. Our Kirtan is the prime benediction, but it's also the way of receiving descending knowledge. So simply by hearing and chanting the names of Krishna, we can begin to taste happiness, but also be able to hear within our heart the knowledge, the transcendental knowledge of our relationship, of our eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. So that's what we're going to do right now, and we will continue on with the next video with the rest of the chapter. Thank you. Haribo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Gopala, Govinda Rama, Madonna Moana. 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 Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Haribo. So thank you very much for joining me today, and as always, it's a pleasure to be able to read the wonderful pastimes of Krishna with you. Feel free to share my videos with your friends and your family. Subscribe and like, and we'll see you next time. Aloha.